there, listeners. Welcome to Shit That Goes Under Our Heads, the podcast where we normalize conversations around mental health.
That's right. I'm Dirty Skittles, and alongside my amazing co-host, Rex, we are here to share stories and tips from our incredible guests.
Each episode, we deep dive into struggles and triumphs of mental health, offering practical advice and heartfelt support.
Because no one should feel alone in their journey. Join us as we break the stigma and build a community of understanding and compassion.
Tune in and let's start talking about the shit that goes on in our heads. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Shit That Goes On Our Heads. I'm here with the amazing Dirty Skittles, and today we have an awesome guest, Ilise. Welcome, Ilise. So happy to have you here.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. I've been waiting a long time.
I'm sorry about that.
You're busy, ladies.
She is hustling. She's got us booked until next year, I think.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're booked until March of 2026.
I love it.
Wild.
You're hot.
Well, I know that.
I was waiting.
I sizzle.
Oh my God.
I love it.
Maybe not today, though, because it still feels like winter here. So,
I have a blanket on my lap. I'm freezing.
Well, can I tell you, I'm at the Disney Resort, the Wilderness Lodge, and it was gorgeous by the pool.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Whatever.
It was
whatever.
It was nice.
I love that.
Whatever. It's in the 40s here.
Yeah.
It's going to snow again in a couple of days. It's fantastic.
Come visit us.
No, I'm not coming back.
I was going to say, I don't think you'd ever go back.
Soon.
We should do like a drinking around the world at Epcot, though. That would be fun.
That would be fun.
Would you like to just cut the stain off?
No, that bless
I was
its
born
heart.
here. I'm a native.
Oh,
Yeah.
what part of Florida?
I was born in North Miami Beach.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I know. I'm one of the rare ones.
Yep.
You are.
Yeah.
You're rare. You're redhead. You're, you're the whole 9 yards.
I'm a little odd. I'm a little different.
We love that, though. That's our kind of people, right, T-Rex?
It is. It's our kind of people.
I always say I'm different from other people, and people are like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I just don't follow the same groove as everybody else. I just don't.
Yeah. Have you always been like that?
No, I mean, yeah, probably when I was younger, but I think I was more timid, not to follow you didn't want to be bullied. You didn't want kids to single you out or anything. So I already had the red hair, which kids made fun of. So I kind of and as I got older and went through all my life's crap, I just said, I'm just not going to do it. If all my friends go right and I want to go left, I go left.
Yeah. Do you remember how old you were when you made that conscious decision?
Probably after my first marriage was over. So I would say close to 30.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now you march to the beat of your own drum.
I sure do.
And the world's a better place because of it. So I love that.
I try.
So what made you decide to get into therapy?
Well, I went to UF.
Right.
I really did not have direction, to be honest. I was going to college because I was going to be the first kid to go to college in my family. And I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be on the news. I wanted to be an anchor person. And once I got past my gen eds, and one of my professors says, you have to live in Podunk, USA. And I'm like, oh, that's not me. I need to be near a city. I can't live just any little town, USA. So then I was like, what do I want to do? And honestly, as sad as it sounds, right across the street at UF was the College of Health and Human Performance. And I just asked to switch. And then I went into rec therapy. And then I picked psych once I started volunteering, like in hospitals and nursing homes and rehab facilities, and just realized that I had that knack.
Very cool. Yeah. Bless your heart. You've got the knack. I'm like, I thought I wanted to do psychology, but I thought it was too heavy. You know what I mean?
It is very heavy. That's why I don't do it anymore. And now I've kind of combined the journalism with the therapeutic aspect. I'm just one of those people, and this is not to sound like I have a big head. people just gravitate towards me for the way I talk, for the way I sound. It's not anything I really do. I just think it's that whatever that chemistry that you kind of put out. But after I got pregnant with my second child, it's, not the safest of environments to work in, locked psychiatric units. So then I stopped. And then all my friends just came to me for advice. And then this podcast evolved. So it was during COVID. And like everybody, I was home. I didn't used to be a homebody. I am now. But I just felt like I wanted to have my voice heard. And I just kind of researched it and started it. And now what am I? Just did episode 186, so it's season 6. Yeah. So, and I just cover everything for mental health. And I talk a lot about myself too, because I think people have a misnomer about therapists that we're perfect and we do everything correct. No, I screw up and I don't do everything correct. I say the wrong things. I do the wrong things, but life's learning about how to go through those events and those trials and how to move forward and evolve. So it's kind of just what I started and here I am. So,
So does that kind of mean you don't have your shit together like the rest of us?
I got a lot of shit that goes on in my head, girl.
All right.
No, I don't have it all together. I mean, we all have, there's a common thing that people say about people in psych. You go into psych because you need psych. So if you can have that insight as a therapist, you become a good therapist because your clients can connect with you that way because you are human and you are fallible and you do make mistakes. If you sit there like in an ivory tower, well, how is your client going to even relate to you? How are my listeners going to even relate to me? They can't. You have to be real. You have to talk about the screw ups that you make, the lessons you learn, the things you wish you could change or do different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy you said that though, because when you were describing it and, we're all kind of still figuring out life and nobody really has it all together. That's all I kept thinking was like, well, we're all human, right? We wouldn't be human otherwise. I think that's part of life is making mistakes and going through tough times. And
I think a lot of people, though, don't realize that. I just did my last podcast on when people have a lot of anxiety, they think they're doing something wrong. And they think, why am I feeling this way? What am I doing wrong? Sometimes it's just the chemical imbalance inside your brain. And it's not anything you're doing wrong, or it's all that external stuff. I mean, when you think of us living in a bubble and then all these arrows coming towards us of all those stressors and think about that. If you just could imagine that in your head right now, that can cause you anxiety, right? So it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It's just, how are you coping? Maybe that's what you need to tweak is your coping mechanisms.
Yeah. That is what I needed to.
You got it?
We were just talking on an earlier episode about, we had a guest and she was called the Nope Coach. And I was telling G-Rex, I'm like, I've practiced saying no probably a bit too much now. Like I'm very comfortable in the no. Right. And one of the things I say no to the most is if I have to go somewhere and it requires the highway, to me, that's a huge stressor because I live in Georgia. And it's usually all my friends want to hang out in downtown Atlanta. And that traffic is the worst. And so that's what I was thinking of. Like I'm sitting on the passenger seat and all of the stressors of cars and just there's trucks, people are speeding.
But you're not alone. That's me. I will ask a friend to drive me. It's very stress inducing when you think about these highways with all the different bridges, and it can become very overwhelming. And I don't think it's uncommon to not feel comfortable driving on them, especially in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Well, but what's funny is, so I live in upstate New York and like rural upstate New York. And so like when we go out, like if we need to go to Syracuse or like one of the other big, Ithaca, I can do okay. But like Syracuse or Rochester, I have to not drive in the city. I can't. Right. It gives me a ton of anxiety. I've lived up here for 5 years. Prior to that, I lived in South Florida and I dealt with that traffic all the time. But now that I don't hardly drive anymore, like it gives me deep anxiety. I like my hands shake. I get white knuckles.
White knuckles.
Like I just don't want to do it. And I think about other things that bring me a lot of anxiety right now. One being social media. I had to come off of social media. Like I cannot do it anymore. Can't.
It is extremely, and it's so hard because I do all my social media for my podcast and my book. And yeah, while I'm trying to do my own shit, I'm being exposed to all this other stuff. And I feel social media can be a great tool, but it also can be an extremely harmful thing, especially for young people. It's such a harmful thing. And there's no reins on it. I mean, it's just, nilly-willy out there and anything goes. But then the minute you talk about something that they don't want you talking about, all of a sudden you get a warning. Do not talk about
flagged. Yeah,
flagged. I've been flagged a couple times.
Yeah, me too. But the thing is too is like even with parental controls on social media, like that does not stop a kid from going down some rabbit hole that they shouldn't be going down. And it's not just kids, it's adults. Like we all get sucked in.
Mm-hmm.
And like I do all the social media for the podcast also. But what I've been doing now, so I don't have to engage, is I just set up everything to automatically go out. Right. So I don't have to go to the platform and see what's out there. And then on Sundays, I stay off of social media. I use that as my day to, engage in other activities. I don't know, maybe like cleaning my office or cleaning my bedroom or
whatever.
Spending time with my wife.
You unplug.
I'm sure she appreciates that.
Yeah, she's like, this is beautiful. What blew up in here? A bomb?
Yeah, unplugging is key. Like I used to be super guilty. The alarm would go off. I'd grab my phone and I'd start scrolling. And it wasn't like, I don't do Facebook really hardly at all. I don't like it there. Instagram, I'll scroll, but I follow so many celebrities that it's like not even great, right? Because they're all commercials. But TikTok was my rabbit hole. And I would just sit there and scroll. And then before you know it, like 45 minutes would go by. And I'm like, why do I feel like shit? And it's, the election. All of that bullshit was happening. And I'm like, oh my God, unplug. Yeah.
I used to tell my clients when I would do the therapy groups, I'd have like about 25 clients. And I would say to them, it's important to know what's going on in the world. I don't think you should totally like isolate. You need to know, but set a time limit.
Right.
15 minutes, watch it. Don't go back to it. Because if you are someone who suffers from depression, it's depressing. It's bad. My mom watches the local news. I don't even touch that because that's even worse. If you ever watch that, I mean, so it takes you down this negative rabbit hole and it just brings you down.
Yeah.
So you really got to limit it. And it's hard because like you said, I just really started in the past year getting into TikTok. It's a rabbit hole. And then you're like, you look up one thing and then all of a sudden that's all
it's everywhere.
Seeing. You're like, so it really, there are good things on there too. And I've talked about that in my podcast where there are people who do talk about body image and the struggles they have with body image, or like even the new GLP-1s. You see a lot of people out there talking about their body dysmorphia and stuff. So that does help. There are good components to it. It's just so overshadowed by all the other stuff. Yeah. It's such a shame because there really are people on there that you can relate to and talk about things. Anxiety. There's like a lot of the younger people are talking about what they experience in anxiety. And this isn't abnormal if you are diagnosed with anxiety because your doctors don't tell you everything, right? When they diagnose you or if they give you meds. So there are those good aspects of it, but it can be very detrimental at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so while you guys are like looking at body image and depression, I look at penguins and raccoons, squirrels.
There you go.
Things that make me happy.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's, that's important. And I think that's what you have to do. You find the things and you just kind of plug them in there and then scroll through those things. And I love to shop. So I've never bought anything on TikTok, but I like looking at the TikTok shop. So like, to me, that's mindless. Just
Yeah.
mindless, but it's just gives me a chance to relax or whatever. Or the people who are photographers and places they've been, those are great TikToks too, to help you relax and unwind. So you can really tap into it in a healthy way if you want, but your nose just can't be stuck there the whole time.
Right. Yeah. I think it's important being able to choose what you want to consume and when. So yeah, when the election and all that stuff was going down, I literally was off social media completely because it wasn't my choice anymore, right? If I'm just scrolling mindlessly, all this shit was popping up.
Well, yeah. And it still does. I mean, it's just, and I think the sad part about that is the misinformation.
Right.
And we all can be sucked into it. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on.
Right.
We all can be sucked into that. And so now anything that I read that I go, I go and look it up because I don't want to be one of those people who post something that's false information. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't want to be one of those people who get sucked into that. So I look it up. Or sometimes my kids will be like, Mom, that's fake news. I'm like, okay.
Well, it happens. But, the other thing I've been doing to kind of stay off of social media is in the morning, I start my day with intention, right?
Right.
And so I go and look up, if I haven't had a chance to talk to Dirty Skittles because she's been a little busy lately, I go and find a funny video, right? And so 20 minutes of a funny video just start laughing, get that cortisol going. And then I start every day with just something I'm grateful for. And, it helps me set the intention for the day. And yeah, there's a lot of crazy going on around me, but I need to be able to shield that because being as an empath, you can get sucked in really quick.
Trust me. I know. Being empathic is a tough road. It is. You feel everybody's everything. And it's very hard. And I have to sometimes envision that bubble around me to separate me from that. And that's what people are attracted to when you're empathic. They feel that, but then you're sucking it all in and it's hard. It's overwhelming.
I was just about to say, I don't know how y'all do it because I'm barely struggling to deal with my own shit. I couldn't imagine taking on everybody else's on top of it.
Yeah. It's been a lot of work for me to put some walls up and to identify the toxic and let the toxic go. Yeah. That's not in my nature to do that, but I've had to. Toxic to me is just poison. You have to weigh the balance of the person in your life or the toxicity that they bring. And the unhealthy will always push me forward to let that person go.
How long did it take you to learn that skill? Because I feel like that's difficult.
That I would say I've probably only kind of really gotten good in the past 15 years with that. Yeah, okay. I would say the past 15 years, I've really gotten good. And I'll explain to somebody, I don't just ghost them, but I explain to them why I just can't. And sometimes it gets frustrating when somebody else is in your life and they don't want to change or they don't try to change. And then they're your friend or your family member and you feel like you're on a hamster wheel with them and nothing ever changes, yet you're sitting and you're giving your time to them. And it's the same thing over and over. There comes a point you got to say, I can't anymore. Yeah.
And that was like what I started. That's what the first thing that my therapist taught me too. As soon as I started therapy, like the thing that they said to me is that you need to learn how to put your shields up. Because what happened to me is, on Christmas Day is that I took care of everybody else. I did not take care of me. And, we need to remind the listeners that you absolutely have to take care of yourself. Don't ignore it. Yeah. Right? If your spidey sense is telling you that, shit, I just don't feel right. Yeah, walk the fuck away.
Absolutely. And you know what? You can be me-centric without being a selfish person. And I think that's what people don't realize is you can be me-centric. It can be about you, but not be selfish. You can still give to others, but the focus should always be, and I'm realizing that even more now that I'm an empty nester, because now I have so much time on my hands that I like being me-centric. It's really kind of fun being in the world, So
yeah. We were just talking about that today, directly. And I'm like, I feel like I'm learning that it's okay to be me-centric, because I think I always associated with selfish and needing to do other things for other people first. And
and it's just not. It's just the way society programs us, really, to think that we're being selfish, but you're not. Right. And to be a healthy person, you need that balance. You need people, but you need to be able to be with yourself too. Right. And people don't realize some people are so uncomfortable to be by themselves.
Yeah.
Painfully.
Yeah. I'm like, it makes complete sense. Like, in like talking about it, and then it's just reminding yourself every day that it's okay, because you want to show up for you first. There's nothing selfish about that.
Right. Even when you have little kids.
We were just talking about this. We were talking about the oxygen mask, right? Yeah. Like on a plane, right? And I don't have any kids, but we were talking about, putting that oxygen mask on. And Dirty Skittles says, I know I need to put mine on, but can I grab them both and put one on me and little Nugget at the same time? Yeah. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard for parents, but it's also hard for single people too. And, just you have to reprogram your mind on what you need, what's going to be good for you.
Yeah. And it's very hard, and society does not lend to that in any way, shape, or form. It just doesn't. And it's so frustrating. I think that's why Mel Robbins' book, The Let Them Theory, has just blown up, because it gets you to feel like, okay, let them and let me. And I think that's why it's just gone through the roof, because once you get that, okay, just let them, and I'm going to let me, you really empower yourself. Yeah. And I've begun to use it, like, even in my everyday, just because I have expertise in psych doesn't mean that I don't fall off sometimes. And I've got to say, let them. Yeah. Don't get frustrated. They've got their own minds, their own feelings. Let them.
Yeah. It's because it's challenging what you've been told your whole life, right? Or like what you thought was the right way. So it challenges it, and it's refreshing to hear.
Yeah. And it's interesting. My mom lives with us, and I've worked so hard through the years, but I can now see where some of those things came from, because she lives with me now, and how far I've come. And sometimes I have to verbalize to her, I know this causes you anxiety, but I don't think like that anymore. I've worked through that. So it's kind of interesting also to look to your roots on where that comes from.
Yeah. I am 100% my mother's daughter. And it's to the point where now I joke with her. Like, I call my parents every single day. I'm not exaggerating at all.
That's okay.
I completely call her and I go, yeah, you'll know exactly what this feels like. Because I know for sure is a learned behavior. And some of my, anxiety comes from my mom.
And I'm sure my kids will say their anxiety came from me. I mean, like,
yes,
it is what it is.
Yes. And it's like trying to be so mindful about it with my son. I'm like, okay, I don't want him to learn my bad habits. Yeah. So it's such a tightrope to walk, for sure.
I think also you have to realize they're going to pick up some of your bad habits. No matter how hard you try. Because again, we're only human, and sometimes we don't even realize things we're doing, even though we're trying to break them. Yeah. So like, even for me, like my body dysmorphia things, I tried so hard, but inadvertently, those little ears and eyes
pick up on it.
The way things you say about yourself, the way you look at yourself, the way you say, oh, the way this fits or whatever, they pick up on it. No matter how hard I tried. Just is what it is.
Yeah. So, last night, my son and I were playing. I'm normally like busy and working. And then after work, it's like cleaning. I'm always doing something to try to like, make life a little easier. And last night I remember he was like, hey, can we play Army Men? And I'm like, you know what? All right, let me just play because he's been asking me to play. And him and I just completely went in on this game. And we had the most fun. We're belly laughing because I do all these different voices for the different army men and whatever.
Right.
And this morning he told me, he goes, Mom, I really had fun with you last night because you weren't working. You were playing. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, I need to play with him more often. If all you're seeing is your parent working and being too busy for you, like, shit,
Okay. We need to incorporate more play into our adult life.
For sure. Why did
we forget, right? We forget to be a kid.
Yeah. Like, when do you think that stopped?
So I got my degree in recreational therapy. So my job was, whether it was in psych or dual diagnosis or in a nursing home, was to put the play back into life, but to use it as a coping mechanism. Mm-hmm. I think, again, the minute we're declared an adult, but you even see now with the teenagers, they lose. I just remember my girls, like, they were still young and they're like, I still want to play with my American Girl dolls, but I feel like I'm too old. That's society. And it's so sad because even in academics, we make kids, before their brains are even developed enough, having to learn algebra in like second grade. We're just constantly pushing them. Like, they just be a kid. And because I think we're doing it as adults, we're not even thinking about that. We should be able to play. I love playing.
I love playing. And I've gotten more into it in the last couple of months than I have in the last 20 years.
Oh, good. Like, that makes me
love that.
Now that I own my own business, I have time to use like my kid brain to do things. And we talked about being on TikTok and getting sucked down the rabbit hole. Well, I get sucked down the rabbit hole on other things I want to do. And it's just so much fun. And I'm looking forward to spring because I'm completely over winter now. Yeah. But I want to get outside and play outside and do the things that like move my body. And Dirty Skills, you were asking, like, when did that all go away? I think it's when we get named an adult, right? All of a sudden that thought of, being a kid and playing, oh, well, I'm too old for that.
Yeah. I literally, I don't know how old I was, but I can definitely remember my mom or my dad saying, you're too old for that now, or something like that. And you're just like, oh, okay.
We all heard that. Mm-hmm. And they heard that. And it's just, I talk a lot about comparing the US to other countries. And I'm sure your podcast, as well as mine, we have people who listen to us all over the world, right? Mm-hmm. And they do. In Europe, they have a whole different mindset. They have their freaking siestas in the middle of the day. The work hours are much shorter. Mm-hmm. You see them. There's more parks everywhere when you go and you visit. They have that philosophy that the United States has completely lost, in my opinion. Right. And it's play, and it's get outside, and it's be with nature, and it's work shouldn't be your existence. Right. It should not be your existence, but in this country it is.
And so I'm so excited that you brought that up, because I promised my wife that as soon as it warmed up, that I'm going to take 2 days off during the week so we can go play.
Awesome.
Right? Like, we can go fishing, we can go for a drive, but doing it during the week, because I work because I want to, not because I have to. Right. I work because I want my bougie toys. Okay.
Well, of course. I'm with you on that.
I work for that, but I also want my inner kid to come out and play and laugh. And like when Dirty Skittles and I did our first live, the disastrous live, but we got our blow-ups on, right? So I was an inflatable T-Rex.
Right.
And she was a giant unicorn. Mm-hmm. And we just played.
We were in the front yard playing. So all my neighbors saw.
I love it though. That's so good though. Just think a big bit. Some might be saying, okay, they're a little crazy, but some might be saying deep down inside, I wish I could do that. You know?
Yeah. Like, I think that's so important that, times are really tough for people right now across the world. It's just a shit show.
It's a shit show.
And making sure that you bring your inner kid out again. Try not to take life so seriously, even if it's for 20, 30 minutes, right? Be a kid. Color in a coloring book. Doodle. Play with your kids. Sit on the floor. Go play a video game.
Yeah.
Learn to play an instrument. Fun. I mean, there's so many, like, I like to say sometimes I do this and I like to tell my clients to sit with your younger self because your younger self had all these dreams, right? Or all these like little fantasies that a kid would have. Some of those things you could bring to life if you tapped into that, sitting with your younger self and remembering, God, I always wanted to play the guitar, just never got to it. It's never too late, right? So I think if you kind of remember back to when you were younger and some of those things you either loved doing or just never got to, now tap into them.
Yeah.
You'll open up a whole new world for yourself.
Yeah. Do the things you want to do. Life is short, man.
Yeah. Life is so short. And so short.
That's what people forget. I think, not forget, we all know about life and death, obviously, but they forget that time is short. And they get so caught up in it, in the bullshit and the rat race. And before they know it, they're old. And they go, what the fuck just happened? And I never got to do those things.
Right.
I don't want to be that person. And I went through that epiphany as one kid was in college, one was getting close to college. I was very fortunate I didn't have to work. And I'm sitting on the couch, binge watching one of my reality TV shows because I'm a reality TV show junkie, literally. And I'm like, is this my life?
Right.
Is this it? What am I going to do? Is this really it?
Right.
And I reinvented myself, but not everybody does that. And if you don't realize that time is limited, it will run out and you won't ever get to fulfill those things. And I wish I could tell everybody, I wish I could just scream that to the world, stop.
Yeah.
Do what you want to, have fun.
Have fun because there's a lot of stuff you can do that doesn't cost money.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. That was my next thought.
Does it cost money to go outside? No. Does it cost money to laugh? No. Does it cost money to sit and color with
spending time
markers?
Right.
No.
Spending time with your friends and family.
Right.
Yeah,
the library is free. Yeah. There's things you can take out of the library that are like, there's so many things if you really look into it. Going to the beach, putting a towel down on the sand, free. There's so many things. It's just people just don't. They don't.
They're caught in that hamster wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. And these are all important things for your mental health, right?
Yeah.
Like it just helps you clear your mind.
Yeah.
And, I'm fortunate. I went through some shitty shit, but I worked my ass off to get here and I'm happy.
Yay.
I mean, I still have bad days. Okay. Like I'm not 100%.
Of course. And that's something that people don't realize as well. You can be on a road to being healthier and doing everything, but we're all going to have bad days. We're all going to have a day where you just feel like, blah. Yeah. Nothing happened. Nothing occurred. You just feel down.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's normal. We have a body chemistry. We have different, chemicals flowing in our brain that sometimes make us feel that way and nothing happened. It just is.
It's reminding yourself too, that's not forever.
Exactly.
How you're feeling right now is not going to be forever.
Exactly. So. And it's like you with when you called the 988, you were at that point, right? And they made you realize it's not forever.
It's not.
Right.
Like that, I'm telling you, the woman I spoke to that day was the most compassionate person I've ever spoken to. And they helped me find my voice and they helped me find my footing. And now look where I'm at, right?
Look at you.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's crazy.
That's just to me, like, in the field that I worked in is we wish that you were every outcome. Unfortunately, it's not, and you're what we want to see. And now you're spreading that word to people.
Yeah. Huge.
It's huge.
I'm thankful for everybody that, propped me up when I couldn't prop myself up, right? But I put a lot of work into myself.
Yeah.
And I'm still working on it. I still go to therapy. I still act like a 4-year-old some days. Okay. 4 is a good age.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, 4 is a good age.
Okay, I like it.
But, I'm also like building a business and doing the things that bring me joy, even though I have a lot of external factors coming at me and be like, yeah, the world's shit. Okay, I know it is. But you know what? Don't fuck with my happiness.
Right.
and I think it's up to us to put that boundary up and say, hey, don't fuck with my happiness. Yeah, the world's going to shit, but I can still be happy. Maybe my cat did something funny, or maybe Little Nugget made you laugh, right? Or maybe your mom or your husband did something that made you smile.
Right.
We can still do that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though the world's on fire.
Yeah. There are people who, and it's a big concern to me, without getting into what side of the fence you're on in politics. It's a very hard world with the political nature that we're in for people today. And I have friends who are constantly posting about it and they're like, because I am very political and prior elections and stuff, I would have been that person. I would have been all over screaming. And my friends are like, why? And I'm like, I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to watch it all burn. I can't, I can do my voice. I can march. But it's out of my control, really. I voted. It didn't go my way.
Yeah.
These are the consequences. And I can't let it make me sick.
Right.
And that's what I did. That's why my profile picture on social media is penguins.
Yep.
Okay.
Fun.
Yeah.
Because I'm a dick. Okay. So
I'd like to go live on that island with those penguins.
that would be a lot of fun. Wouldn't that be like finding your inner child? And I think this is such a pertinent conversation for now.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
1000%. I'm in Disney World.
Yeah.
Where the magic is.
World.
Right? Like here, it's like everything goes away. I wish everything could be like that.
Yeah.
The pixie dust over everything,
She's going to go home in her bubble and be like, I'm in my Disney bubble. Leave me alone.
Own everybody.
That's so funny.
Why not? Why not?
This was such a great conversation.
Yeah, it was fun.
But I think Dirty Skittles needs to ask her famous question.
Am I in trouble?
No, these are fun.
Okay.
These are fun.
Okay.
Sort of. Fuck you up a little bit.
No. Okay. All right. First question.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time to visit a younger version of yourself, to give that younger version a bit of advice, what would you say to yourself and how old are you?
I'm probably about 13. And I would say to myself, it doesn't matter what people think of you. It doesn't matter what people say about you. You don't have to be like everybody else. Be comfortable in your own skin. Say what you want to say without fear of people disagreeing with you or losing people in your life. When you're a kid and people make fun of you, you kind of go in that shell. And I wish that I didn't. I wish that I would have, flung my red hair around and didn't look at it like it was like this awful thing on top of my head, So that's what I would do. I'd be about 13 years old because that was when I was starting to get into the boys, and your appearance and everything, and fighting with my parents. They wanted my hair short. I wanted my hair long, and just not caring. Just be who you are. Be authentically you.
I love that. I love that. Next question is, so far in life, what would you say has been the hardest lesson you've learned?
Oh, that's a hard one. Well, I guess the thing that comes to mind, because I literally just talked about this with my daughter. In my first marriage, I was a very independent person. Went to college. Like I said, I was the first one in my family, very independent. And then I married someone who was very controlling over me. And I don't really, to this day, I still question myself. How did I allow that to happen? So against who I was, but yet in love, whatever. I just don't understand still to this day why I let someone take control over me that way. So I would probably say that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that.
So now you have my crazy questions.
Okay.
If your anxiety had a theme song, what is it and why?
Oh, girls just want to have fun. I mean, that's just all that comes to me. And why? I think, again, because not being who you truly are can cause anxiety, and just have fun and just not give a shit. Not give a shit. Like we all have, I have, this group of girls that are my friends, and they're all very different. And I don't give a shit if they don't like what I say or they don't agree. I just want to have fun, my kind of fun. And if you're not in for it, okay. I would say that.
I love this. Okay. So next question is, today, with everything that's going on, what do you do for self-love and self-care?
Okay, that's an easy one. I go outside every single day. I sit outside. Sometimes I do meditation. Sometimes I just sit and look at the lake and watch the birds and just feel the nature. Sometimes I go and sit on the grass because I feel like we're biological and the grass is nature and biological. It needs nurturing and nutrients and water just like we do. And for me, being out in nature, and I never did this before COVID. COVID was what got me out. I had to get outside every day. I mean, like I couldn't be. And now it is literally a part of my existence every single day. And if it's raining, I'll go sit on the patio. But I have to be outside every day. So that's what I do for my self-care and my self-love.
I love this so much. So how can our listeners find you? And tell us a little bit about what you're working on.
Okay, so I have my podcast that I mentioned. It's Wide Open Spaces with Ilise. Ilise is spelled different. It's Ilise. So that's the podcast. And it started out as a mental health podcast. It still is, but now it's a little bit more no bullshit with the conversation. I'm just kind of like tired of, I don't know, being politically correct. And so I've kind of gone that route. I am working on getting more guests. That's always been my weakness, but I'm working on that. So it's mental health. It's working through the bullshit of life and just getting through that. And I also have my first book that I published, which is A Wanderlust Within, A Journey to Self-Discovery by me, Ilise Litwin. Oh. And what I did with that is I took my very first season of my podcast and I picked my favorite episodes and I made them into chapters because not everybody is a podcast listener. So they can get my knowledge, my wisdom, my life experiences in that route. And there's a cute little redhead on the cover. So.
Aww.
And wideopenspaceswithilise.com is my website and all the social media. Follow me, Instagram, Blue Sky, all of them. I'm there and you can listen to my podcast anywhere. They love listening to their favorites.
Yeah, I love that.
This was such a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, I love you.
Thank you.
We love you too.
Here's the funny thing. I've never been Gretchen in person.
Oh.
Well, that's still not a reason to come to Florida, okay? But y'all can come to New York. I'm just saying.
But my husband knows her. That's how I got connected with her.
Nice.
So
yeah,
have you met her husband?
No, everyone.
In person? Okay.
Yeah. I know everybody.
That's true.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is true.
I am the mayor.
She has a very good reputation.
Hi, all. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm G-Rex.
And I'm Dirty Skittles.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'd love to listen to your feedback.
We can't do this without you guys.
It's okay to be not okay. Just make sure you're talking to someone.